The sudden news of my Mill's death. My husband yells at me when I try to attend the funeral. Don't you dare come. Got it. What are you saying? Who skips their Mill's funeral? Mom hated you. You're not welcome. I wasn't particularly close to my Mill, but she had passed away. As her Dale, it would be extremely rude not to attend the funeral. Ignoring my husband's words, I headed to the funeral venue, which was a bit of a distance away. There, I saw my husband taking on the role of the chief mourner. What is this? What on earth is happening? Whose funeral is this? What would be revealed next was an unexpected truth that defied belief. My name is Emma, 30 years old. I got married 3 years ago and live with my husband, Liam. Back then, we were filled with happiness, but not anymore. To be frank, I have endless complaints about this marriage. Most of the reasons lie with Liam. When we got married, I became a housewife. This was because, when he proposed, he asked me to quit my job and stay at home. I was just a regular office worker and had no particular attachment to my job, so I left to meet his expectations. But that was a mistake. For about the first year, there were no major complaints. Things took a sharp turn for the worse in the second year. Up until then, my husband had given me $1,000 a month for living expenses, but suddenly it was reduced to $500. I couldn't keep silent about this, so I arranged for us to talk. Hey, Liam, it's impossible to cover all expenses with just $500. Why? I pay the rent, so all you have to cover are utilities and food. But we need household supplies too. Even with just utilities and food, $500 isn't enough. That's your job to figure out, right? Since I'm supporting you, you should manage that much. This is just not possible. In the end, he wouldn't budge, and I had to manage with $500. No matter how hard I tried, I always exceeded the $500. It was especially tough because Liam eats a lot. For the next year, I had to dip into my savings, but with no income, my balance kept dropping. Every time I checked the balance, it decreased. Seeing that made me feel an overwhelming sense of anxiety. What would happen if my account balance hit zero? No matter how hard I tried, $500 wasn't enough. Liam showed no intention of increasing the living expenses. So what was I to do? I decided to start working again. Even if it was a part-time job, I could earn around $800 to $900 a month. With that income, things would be a bit easier. That night, I brought it up to my husband, and he made an obviously annoyed face. What? Work? Are you kidding me? No way. Why not? It would make our lives much easier. Because the reason our life is hard now is because you're bad at managing the household budget. It's your fault. What do you mean I'm bad at managing? I'm doing everything I can. Even with that, it's tough to make ends meet, so I'm trying to figure things out. Playing the victim, huh? You're living off my hard work, and you still have the nerve to complain? His mocking tone made my anger bubble up inside me. Before I knew it, I was yelling my frustrations at him. Enough. I quit my job because you asked me to become a housewife. Why are you yelling all of a sudden? Do you think that'll solve anything? I just want you to understand how I feel. Why can't you get it? There's no way to manage everything with just $500. Shut up. Stop blaming everything on me. Think of something besides working outside, you lazy bum. After spitting out such hurtful words, he pushed me hard on the shoulder and stormed out of the living room. I fell to the floor from the impact, tears streaming down my face. Why? How did it come to this? All I wanted was a peaceful married life. I wanted to talk to someone, but my parents lived far away, and I couldn't visit them easily. Besides, I didn't want to worry my parents, who were so happy about my marriage. On the other hand, my in-laws lived about an hour away by car. However, Liam didn't get along well with them, and we hadn't seen them since our wedding. So, talking to my in-laws was practically impossible. We had moved closer to my husband's workplace when we got married, so meeting my former coworkers was both time-consuming and costly. I feared what my old friends would say if I visited them. I felt completely dominated by fear of Liam. But then, things suddenly changed. Liam started spending less time at home. He had more overtime and business trips, and he often didn't eat at home. Since he wasn't eating at home, I didn't need to buy as much food. Thanks to this, I managed to make the $500 last each month. Moreover, I started working from home around this time, earning about $700 a month. I had more financial freedom, and my life became more relaxed while Liam was away. This continued for about a year, bringing us to the present. Recently, Liam had been busy with work and rarely came home. But when he did, he treated me like a slave and hurled insults at me. Towards the end, he even stopped giving me any money for living expenses. Then, one day, my husband came home from work, looking unusually flustered. As soon as he saw me, he blurted out shocking words. "Mom's dead." "What? Wait, you must be joking, right?" He yelled at me as I turned around to face him. Why would I lie about something like this? "No, but your mom was still young. The funeral is the day after tomorrow, but I'll go alone. You stay home." I was so surprised that I could only say, "What?" I asked him again to confirm. "What are you talking about? It's your mom's funeral. Why are you going alone?" "She's my mother, so it's fine if I go alone." "You don't need to come." "No, that's ridiculous. Your mom is my mill." "I don't care about that. I can handle the funeral by myself." "What?" I couldn't understand his reasoning, and my frustration grew. As I stood there, confused, he raised his voice again, clearly annoyed. "Just don't come to the funeral, got it? What are you talking about? What kind of deal skips the funeral of her in-laws? Oh, come on. My mom hated you. Don't come, you're not wanted." "What? My mill hated me?" "Yeah, that's right. Even if you showed up, my dead mom wouldn't be happy." The harsh reality hit me like a ton of bricks, making my chest ache. Seeing my reaction, my husband sighed in exasperation. "Isn't it clear now? If my mom hated you, my dad feels the same. Everyone will be uncomfortable if you come." Okay, just stop. As long as you understand. Remember, don't come to the funeral, got it?" I could only nod weakly as he emphasized his point. 2 days later, my husband was bustling around since morning, hurriedly putting on his funeral suit. While he was at the sink, I picked up his discarded pajamas. Just then, I noticed his phone left open on the table. It was showing the route to today's venue. The place was about a 40-minute drive from our house. I immediately felt something was off. Wait, this is strange. This place is in the opposite direction of Liam's parents' house. It would take at least an hour and a half to get there from his parents' place. Wouldn't it make more sense to choose somewhere closer? Why pick such a far-off location? As I was pondering this, my husband returned with his hair neatly done. To avoid suspicion, I quickly picked up his pajamas and left the room. Shortly after, he said, "I'm leaving," and walked out of the house. Unable to shake the feeling of unease, I put on my own funeral attire and decided to go to the Mills funeral. When I arrived at the venue, I couldn't believe my eyes. The seats for relatives and guests were filled with unfamiliar faces, and there was my husband giving a speech as the chief mourner. "Thank you all for coming to pay your respects to my wife." What is this? My wife, Olivia. Liam was shedding tears, pretending to be a grieving husband. I wanted to confront him immediately, but the sound of sobbing around me kept me from disrupting the atmosphere. Then, I overheard a conversation from the women seated behind me. "Did you hear? The chief mourner is divorced." "Really?" He seemed so put together. Apparently, his previous wife was quite a handful. She racked up a lot of debt. Debt? Oh my, that's troublesome. She left a divorce paper behind and just took off. He met his current wife soon after. Even knowing she was ill, they got married out of love. That's such a pure love story. Nep? Ran away? I never did anything like that. Hearing how the story had been twisted made me even angrier. I left the venue and headed straight to the city hall to clear up my suspicions. When I checked up, I found that I was technically divorced. The divorce date was about 6 months ago. It seemed Liam had met his current ill wife soon after and married her. He hardly came home because he was enjoying a new life with her. The moment all the pieces came together, my anger reached its peak. He tricked me, removed me from the registry, and secretly married another woman. Don't make a fool out of me. All right, if that's how it's going to be, I'll make sure he pays dearly. Determined to get my revenge, I hailed a cab and headed to my Mill's place, where she was likely to be. I gave the driver vague directions and eventually made it to my Mill's house. When I rang the doorbell, my Mill answered. The moment she saw me, her eyes widened in surprise. "Oh, it's you, Emma. It's been a while. I'm so glad to see you're doing well." "It's good to see you looking well too, Emma. But why are you here today?" "I'm sorry for the sudden visit. There's something important I need to tell you." something important. Actually, I explained everything to my mill, how Liam treated me like a slave, how he barely gave me any money, and that I was already divorced without knowing it. As I spoke, tears welled up, and I began to sob. My mill gently patted my back. Emma, you must have been through so much. I'm so sorry for my idiot son. It's all right. I'm sorry for barging in and unloading all this on you. It's not your fault. But why didn't you come to me sooner? Well, Liam told me that you hated me. What? He told me that you hated me. What? Finally, I realized it. Liam had intentionally kept us apart. He probably thought it would be inconvenient if his mother and I got along well. Meanwhile, Liam had been secretly asking his parents for money, blaming me for everything. He told them things like, Emma is sick and needs money. Emma can't work anymore, so we're struggling. We'll pay you back. Please help us for Emma's sake. And so on. But I was never sick, and I stopped working because he asked me to. Now that I had talked with my mill and understood everything, I had nothing to fear. I told my mill about my revenge plan and headed back to the funeral venue. The funeral was over, but a few people were still there. I approached one of them. Excuse me, where is the deceased family home? I missed the funeral, and I want to visit later to pay my respects. Pretending to be a friend, I got the address of the other woman's family. The next day, I took some flowers and went to her house. When I rang the doorbell, a haggard-looking woman answered. She was probably the mother of the woman he had an affair with. I introduced myself as a friend and was invited inside. In the room with the family altar, there was Liam. Emma, what are you doing here? Liam covered his mouth in shock. Seeing this, the woman's father asked, Liam, what's going on? That was my cue to reveal everything. I apologize for lying. I am this man's ex-wife. Ex-wife? What are you doing here? Both your daughter and I were deceived by this man. I only found out I was divorced at Olivia's funeral yesterday. What? What do you mean? My husband told me it was his mother's funeral, but he said, you can't come. When I followed him because it seemed strange, I discovered it was his new wife's funeral. What is this, Liam? Explain yourself. With Olivia's father's angry shout, Liam's face turned pale, and he hung his head. Sensing his wrongdoing, the somber atmosphere turned tense. Olivia's parents' faces turned red with rage, their bodies shaking. Amidst this, I began my final revenge to corner Liam. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, and Olivia's mother went to answer it. When she returned, she was with my mill. Mom. Liam broke into a sweat, clearly flustered. My mill didn't hold back. What do you think you're doing? Causing trouble for everyone else. Pay back the money you borrowed from me and your father right now. Don't you dare blame Emma. Mom, wait. This isn't the time for that. Apologize to Emma, Olivia, and her parents right now. Do you have any idea what you've done? You divorced Emma without her consent and pretended I was dead. That's unforgivable. Mom, can we talk about this later? This isn't the place for. This is exactly the place. We need to apologize to Olivia and her parents. I'm here to make sure they know what a scumbag you are. Olivia's father grabbed Liam by the collar and shouted, How dare you? Terrified, Liam began to cry on the spot. It turned out that Liam had also borrowed money from Olivia's parents under false pretenses, claiming it was for Olivia. When questioned, Liam admitted to spending all the money on gambling. He was thrown out of Olivia's house and sued. Ignoring his tears, I turned away with my mill. Wait! Came a desperate voice from behind me, slowly turned and spoke to him. What? Emma, I'm really sorry. Let's start over, please. What? I'll be sued if this keeps up. Please help me. Don't worry, I'm planning to sue you too. What? Yes, I had already decided. For treating me like a slave and filing for divorce without my consent, I would sue him through my lawyer. Please forgive me. I spat back at my pleading husband. Do you think an apology will fix everything? Do you understand what you've done? Filing for divorce without my consent is a crime, you know? Your apology means nothing to me. Emma, please wait. Shut up. Do you realize how many people you've hurt? What you've done can't be forgiven easily. Even if you spend your whole life making amends, it won't be enough. Stay away from me forever. If you come near me again, I'll destroy you. As I delivered my final words, my mill put her hand on my back. Her warmth almost made me cry. Liam ended up having to pay back the $10,000 he borrowed from Olivia's parents in one lump sum. He also had to pay me damages for forging the divorce documents. His salary was not high, so these expenses hit him hard. He had to borrow money to pay the damages, and now his company gets constant calls from creditors. It's only a matter of time before he's fired. As for me, I went back to my old job right after the divorce. Now, I live in an apartment near my office and enjoy a peaceful life. Since then, I've met with my mill regularly, and we keep each other updated. Our relationship has grown even stronger since the divorce. My mill, who helped me get revenge on her son, I plan to cherish her as a second mother for the rest of my